it over there somewhere?
Great.
Over there. Over there.
Oh, that's it.
Hey, we
This
have
is the work side?
Yeah.
They have the work side. What? What?
Um,
Diabolical.
So Ken, you can start the recording.
It's been started.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
You started?
We started
Crazy.
What's happening?
Oh,
Diablo?
it's transcripting?
It is
Diablo?
That's amazing.
Yeah, you should turn that off.
I should turn that off.
Yeah, you might want to turn that off.
Yeah, for certain someone like you.
Oh, you just stopped the recording, not the transcript.
No, I stopped the.
Okay.
It's still recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind, never mind.
Lawyer.
Yeah, my
I
bad.
love how the first word was Diablo.
I want you to know 1 minute. I don't have a gavel, by the way, so.
Do you want to grab the gavel? The gavel's in the.
I'll use the cup.
Is the cup.
The gavel's in the. That's.
You want to quickly run?
Do you want your
No.
gavel?
No.
Yes,
No,
yes,
we're
we need
good.
it.
The vice president is for it.
No, I will give him my key and he can go grab it.
No, we're good, we're good.
No, go grab it.
Why do I need the gavel?
Because my fist wasn't banging on the table as the gavel.
That's so depressing that you guys need the gavel to function.
It's an iconic piece that has been signed by many of the VPs in the past. Bailey?
Missing one senator.
I thought she's not our advisor.
She's not?
Just
the
president. She's going to be.
We're missing,
We don't have a chief staff. Red's like.
we're waiting on Chief Justice.
You guys come in. You can, we have an audience spot.
The corner. The corner. The corner.
All right.
Right into the cut corner.
There you go.
What?
Right. Danny, I'm gonna.
Call to order
Yeah.
at 6:30. Moving into roll call, motion to remove that. You know. Moving to roll call, President Hart. Vice President Chaput. Here. Secretary Mavros. Here. Treasurer Battisti. Here. Chief Justice Wu.
Not, Blake, not Blake.
Oh, no, online. Online, okay.
Up there.
Senator Ahmed.
Here.
Senator Cadella, excused. Senator Cortez.
Here.
Senator Fisher.
Here.
Senator Velez.
Here.
Senator Zapata.
Absent.
Absent. Advisor Jen George. Bailey. I see her here. Webb.
Here.
CFB.
Here.
Okay, Esports. Here. SAC is excused and Res Life is
You missed
also
one.
excused.
Media.
Oh, media? Here. My apologies. All right. Moving on to the approval of the minutes and agenda. Is there any discussion?
Motion to, strike all of the reports from the agenda.
Do we have a second? Second by Senator Velez. Okay, is there any discussion on removing the reports from the minutes and agenda? Our audience member.
I just want to ask our senator why they're doing this by understand because we have a largely new executive board and they've been working fairly hard this past week. I think they could give us some updates. I yield.
All right, Senator Fisher.
All I'm gonna say is, this is an emergency meeting. We need to get the business on the table and not to worry about reports. That is something that needs to be worried about next fall, so I yield.
Senator Velez.
I want a motion to amend that to be director reports and committee reports
I said all reports.
and org reports.
I said all reports.
Yeah, no, are you?
Yeah, I'm excluding, exec reports.
Are you including?
Excluding exec reports
Okay.
from that strike.
You can't amend my motion.
Motion to amend the original motion, second by Senator Zapata. Cortez, so sorry. My bad. Is there any discussion?
Clarification, only doing the executive.
Only doing executive reports. Is there any discussion? No. Seeing no discussion, we'll move into voting. All those in favor of the amendment? All those opposed? All those abstained? Okay, that passes 4-0-0. Back
Oh my
into-
God, our Chief Justice.
Moving back into the original motion, to remove the reports excluding the executive report, is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, we'll move into voting. All those in favor of removing all the reports except for the executive report, please raise your hand. All those against? And all those abstain? That passed.
Point of information.
4-0. Yes,
You could, for agenda stuff, you could just say, does anyone oppose unanimous consent?
I realize. Okay, that passes. We will take that off the agenda. Is there any further discussion to the agenda or audience member?
With regards to voting on the minutes and agenda, the secretary has heard time to set the official agenda. I don't see a copy of the minutes anywhere. I would personally be curious to.
There are no minutes?
Yes.
Yielding to,
Yes.
What?
I do not have those minutes as the previous secretary was working on them and I did not receive them currently.
Senator
Should
Bishop.
I motion to, remove the ones that, to go really at the policy, seeing how policy is gonna be reworked in the summer?
Could you clarify which?
Let me see. Do you have the updated agenda?
Yeah, I just sent that out.
That would be bill number 2425-12, bill number 2425-13, and bill number, number 2425-12, and bill number 2425-13.
So just 12
And the other one? Oh, sorry, and bill number 25-14. So all the ones that are bills.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Did you not? Point of information.
you read, clerk, officer.
So the motion was to remove Bill 2425-12, Bill 2425-13, and Bill 2425-14 from the agenda. Do we have a
The
second?
reason, point of information, the reason is so that since the policy is gonna be reworked over the summer, there's no point in having those bills, because it's gonna be reworked. So why not make the big change all at once when the big upgrade to the policies is right next semester? So, thank you.
Do we have a second? Second by Senator Ahmed. Moving into discussion. Is there any discussion on removing the 3 bills from the agenda? Our audience member.
With regards to the motion, I absolutely understand the reasoning behind it. I do wonder what you think of leaving Bill 2425-12, and Bill 2425-13. Those are largely cleanup bills, right? They don't really alter policy, is my understanding. The only bill on the agenda at the moment that would significantly change policy is Bill 2425-14. The others have been on the table. My understanding is for some weeks now. It yields back to our chair.
So I will clarify on that. They have never actually been brought up to discussion during any of these meetings, meaning unless we call for an immediate action, we would still have to read them for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because they have never been talked about despite being on the table for 2 weeks.
Sorry, point of information, 2425-13 is not available on the agenda.
Our secretary.
So that also was not provided by the previous secretary in their previous agenda. So I found the PDF copy of that too. However, there was the intention of just tabling them because they're bills, so I kind of just like let it be.
Is there any
Motion
motion?
to call the question.
We have a motion to call the question. Is there a
Point of
second?
clarification, what are we calling a question on?
The question,
The vote to remove the bills from the agenda. Do we have a second? With no second, that motion dies. Going back into discussion on removing the 3 bills from the table. Our audience member.
Just to our secretary, I believe Bill 2425-13 is available in its drive for this current academic year. I'd be more than happy to send it to you if you'd like. It is on the agenda, so I assume it should at least be sent to the Senate. If not, it's going to be removed based on the fact that no one has access to it from the agenda. I'm going to yield yield to our secretary to respond to that.
Our secretary.
Seeing how it's on the question of whether or not to keep it on the table, I'll see how this vote goes. If we decide to keep it on the table and want to vote on it, being after this, because, you know, it's new business or about community attention, whatever, then I will send it out to. However, if you choose to not bring it up today, then I'll save everyone's time from trying to hunt it down and take it.
All right, moving back to discussion on the motion. Sorry, which ones? Nope, Danny, Velez, sorry, I
Oh,
apologize.
can someone send it out because I don't even know what is 13.
13 is the point of information. 13 is the one I think was the one to remove the 2 instances of bylaw.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's all it is.
I would still like it sent out.
I will send it out.
Thank you very much.
All right, we will take a 60-second.
Oh, motions for a 60-second recess.
I have a motion for a 60-second.
Oh, sorry, we can't make a motion. We're in a motion.
We are in a motion. So we're waiting on the secretary. Our audience member.
I just would like to inform both Senator Velez and our secretary, I've sent a copy of the PDF based off the last, the latest version that I had available with an argument drive. I would be more than happy to forward it to anyone else at the workshoot if they would so like.
Point of information for the secretary. You're sending that out to everyone.
I will be sending this out to the email. If anyone doesn't receive it within the next 2 minutes, just let me know and I will be sure to send you over a copy.
Second one.
Shout out to our audience member. I have it.
All right.
Point of information, we're wasting time.
We're waiting on the,
On our secretary.
Still in motion.
Point of clarification, what are we in a motion for again?
motion to remove 3 bills from the agenda.
Remember, this was supposed to be an emergency meeting.
We're in an emergency. We'll take. Okay, seeing
Does
that
the
it's been
secretary
sent
need me to-
out, we will continue forth with the discussion on removing the 3 bills from the agenda. Is there any further discussion? Call the question. You have to, I'm not going to hear that. Seeing no further discussion, we will go into voting. All those in favor of removing the 3 bills from the agenda, please raise your hand.
I think we just hunted it down.
3
That's
policies.
2. All those opposed? All those who abstain?
That passes.
That passes 2-1-1. And those 2 bills are removed from the agenda. Is there any further discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move into voting on the minutes of the agenda. All those in favor of the minutes of the agenda, please raise your hand. All those opposed? All those who abstain, that passes 4-0-0. Okay. Moving on to announcements, there is no announcements. Moving on to guest speakers, there is no guest speakers. Moving on to executive reports, our president.
So I just want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. I understand with the finals and everything, it could be very difficult, but make it here. Even for some of us online, it's nice that we're all here. I wish our first meeting as this keyboard would have been an actual meeting instead of an emergency meeting, but you know, we gotta make work with what we have. So keyboard's been working hard and Forrest has been working very closely with orgs in terms of everything that's been going on. And just hope we have a productive year going forward and a productive thank you.
Vice President report. As our president did mention, I've been working close with the orgs. We have to look at a lot of the policies for them and their constitutions, as the majority of them do not follow the defined format within the SGU's policies and procedures. which makes them pretty much all null and void unless that is fixed. So we are essentially running against an opposition and violation of our policies. So that will be hopefully solved throughout the summer, and that is the plan. Along with that, as discussed with the 3 bills being removed from the agenda, there's going to be a lot of policy rework looked at over the summer, seeing what can be touched up on, seeing what needs to be touched up on, and a general cleanup to that going forward. Along with that, we are moving, obviously, SGU into the org suite. So that's a lot of differing complications, and we'll keep you updated as it continues forth. But it seems that we have most of the current SGU suite cleared out and moved into at least some of the different rooms within the org suite, and that it will be a continued effort throughout the summer. Thank you. Our secretary.
So, waiting on a few transit documents from a few people. Additionally, over summer, I'm kind of working on training materials for the incoming senators come fall, as well as a few other SU positions. On top of that, I plan to go through our various documents we have unsorted from past years, such as all agendas, minutes, contracts, resignation forms, a bunch of stuff on projects that we'll have. Go through those, see what we need missing, what we could get rid of, that sort of thing. And again, finish documents, please send them out. Send to myself or Lauren. And yeah, that's it. Yield.
Our treasurer.
And everyone, mostly got finished the financial policy, those updates, reviewing purchase requests. Yeah, transition documents, need to get in because I haven't gotten my treasury yet. So trying to get that in.
We do not have a chief of staff, so Chief Justice. That's a director. Nope, it's an executive. Seeing no response, I'm going to take that as no report. Yeah. So moving on, we had removed the other reports from the table. So moving on to old business. Oh.
No report.
Wonderful. So moving on to old business, there is no old business. Moving on to new business, resolution 2425-42, 2025 spring executive election reopening. It doesn't say the thing now, but unfortunately, I think that's in there. I'm going to yield to our secretary. That is. Doesn't wait, doing one wrong resolution. 2025-42.
Point of information, I'll read it. Motion to accept Senate Resolution number 2425-42.
Seconded by Les.
The purpose of this resolution is to reopen the spring 2025 executive election. We, the Senate of Student Poly Student Government at U, do hereby resolve whereas the students of the Student Poly have submitted a petition to the Senate on April 24th, 2025, and the purpose of this petition was thusly, this petition aims to contest the results of the spring 2025 executive election. Its authors believe the results of the election do not reflect the true votes of the student body, as candidates were removed from the ballot for less than 2 days before the election closed, nullifying hundreds of student votes without allowing them to recast their vote. The petition demands a revote of the affected positions so that the students had their votes nullified will have a chance to recast votes. Therefore, be it enacted that the student government at Utica Senate shall direct the election committee to reopen the voting on the president and vice president positions for the spring 2025 election. Therefore, be it resolved, voting shall reopen on the president and vice president position for the 2025 spring executive election. And finally, be it finally resolved, the student government at Utica will hold a fair election. I yield.
Okay, moving into discussion. Senator Fisher.
All I'm going to say is we don't even have an election committee. And the election committee would be filled with people who are biased, so that's all I'm going to say. I yield.
I wanted to add on to Senator Fisher. If we were to pass this, how would we even move forward with this? And we vote.
Yeah. So I can answer that in a sense. How this would work is that if this passes, this would go to election committee. Now, election committee currently would be 2 things. Either it would be not created until we are able to fill the positions with an unbiased manner. in the fall semester. Or we fill the positions as they currently stand within our policy procedures, meaning that we don't have directors, so all the director positions would have to be filled in the unspecified way that is mentioned in the policy, which there is none. We would have the chair and co-chair, which would be the vice president, myself, and the chief justice. We don't have a pro temp, so in the conflicting instances that it does say pro temp being the co-chair, nullifies out because we do not have a pro temp. So chair would be vice president, co-chair would be chief justice, we'd have the advisor, and then we pick 3 senators to fill the election committee in a biased sense. That being said, it can be done, and then this would go to election committee where they would vote on it, whether it should pass or not. And if it passes, it would be up to the election committee how that would work out at that point. Our audience member.
Yeah, so to build off what our chair said, the chief justice is expected to serve on election committee. The chief justice, I understand it's not our current chief justice Wu who submitted this resolution. It was our previous chief justice Mullen who submitted it. But given their general role as an unbiased adjudicator, I feel very confident that they could find a path forward if this is something that election committee pursued. Based off the wording of the resolution, I'm not sure how much of a decision election committee actually has. The wording of the resolution is to direct election committee. The Senate as a legislative body does have the authority to direct the committees that are made up of student government, right? The language is pretty unambiguous in that regard. And I think it's important to keep in mind the purpose of the petition and the fact that this was a student petition, right? This isn't a resolution that the senator submitted. It's not a resolution or a piece of legislation submitted by a committee. This is a petition that was brought forward to the chief justice that was signed by, my understanding is over 200 students. And this is just sort of the legislation that matches that. So I think that's very much something we should be keeping in mind. The exact logistical problems are to some extent almost for another day. We do want to think about them to be certain, but we should be keeping in mind the intent behind the resolution and the intent behind every single student that signed this resolution, and consequently every single student who lost their vote because of the actions taken by the election committee. I yield.
Senator Fisher, motion to make the voting secret ballot to limit the risk of retaliation.
We have a motion for a secret ballot. Seconded by Senator Lopez. Is there any discussion on the motion to make it a secret ballot? Our audience member.
To clarify for the Senate, secret ballot is, my understanding is Senator Fisher's motion was to prevent retaliation, right? This is a student petition. Senators are supposed to be accountable to the students. Senators are elected by the students. They should be keeping the students' voices in mind as they cast their votes on any piece of legislation or any motion that is brought to their attention. It's very important to keep in mind that as easy as secret ballot is, right? It's easy when you don't have to be accountable for your vote. It's easy when it doesn't have to be public. That's not what being a senator is about. Being a senator is representing the students, right? It's very important to be accountable to the students, and I frankly see no reason for a secret ballot to be brought forward in this case, just given that this is a student petition, right? And if you do not feel confident enough in your vote to vote the way you want for fear of retaliation, I would just keep in mind whether you're worried about retaliation or accountability. I'm going to yield to our secretary first.
So, well, I do agree with part of that too. There are several members in this room who will be affected by this resolution if it were to go through either way. And some of those individuals are in certain positions that could potentially usurp power over the senators in a way. So retaliation is of a reasonable concern, and I do think the secret ballot is warranted in this case.
Senator Fisher.
All I'm going to say is secret ballot. It's not for protection against outside of SGU. It's more from people above us as the senators. So I yield.
Our audience member.
I certainly don't wish to speak for any specific members within student government, but every single officer of student government is required to take the oath of office, right? It guarantees that officers remain professional unbiased and then maintaining the integrity of student government to the highest standards possible. There is very much protections in place for any sort of retaliation that might occur from an executive. Personally speaking, personally vouching the character of every single executive sitting in our board here today, I have full faith in them that they would keep things professional regardless of the result of this resolution. I yield.
Our Chief Justice. If you could unmute yourself.
Wait, they might be typing.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I would like to say that people might want to vote a certain way, but they might choose not to because of public opinion. And by public opinion, I mean people that they work with, people that they're here a semester, 2 semesters with, maybe a few years. And I think that you should consider that this is a student petition, but it is driven by some people who you have worked with for a long time. And in this very specific case, a secret ballot might be necessary. I yield.
Is there any further discussion? All right.
Just to sort of build off what our Chief Justice said, it is a student petition, right? And secret ballot is really meant for times when your vote must absolutely be secret, right? To protect the confidentiality and privacy of those involved. This is specifically used when you're voting on things such as board head confirmations, right? Situations where you don't want to, and situations where you call an executive session, right? And that's kind of what we have for those resolutions that are meant to be, and those pieces of legislation that are really necessitated to be voted on privately. I would very much hope that the Senate doesn't feel the need to make everything secret simply because it makes their lives a little easier.
Can you just increase the size of the stream just a little bit? Like Control plus plus. I don't think I needed that. Never mind. Our advisor.
Hi there. I think there's something to be said for a secret ballot when it's related to such a personal matter, and not just personal, but personnel related. And I know this doesn't outline anyone specific, as our last petition did, but it still is very focused on specific people. So I think it's warranted, and I think if the Senate feels like they would feel more comfortable, they're very much allowed to do that.
Right,
Yeah.
so
Call the question.
we have a motion, call the question. We have a second.
No discussion.
Business.
No, there's no discussion. Call the question. It's immediately voting.
Oh, what's the first? Going into voting, all in favor of a call to question.
Point of information, this call to question is to vote on the motion for secret ballot. It's the end discussion of the motion to go start a secret ballot and then vote on it after this vote, this call.
So all the senators understand what we're going to vote. Okay, all in favor of call to question, please raise your hand. All who deny. All who abstain. That passes 4-0. Okay. All the question passed, so we go into voting for the resolution 24 outline.
Point of order, we're voting on the motion for secret ballot.
So going into the vote on the secret ballot, all in favor, please raise your hand. 3, all who deny. 1, and all who abstain. Passes 3-1-0. Back into discussion on the resolution as a whole. Is there any further discussion? Audience member.
I would like to, my understanding is we do have some members of the election committee in the room. The petition, or the purpose of the resolution mentions, it restates the purpose of the petition, which states that hundreds of students' votes were nullified. I was wondering if anyone from the election committee could confirm that number. Thank you.
Can I is ask the advisors to respond to that question.
Was the question how many,
Exact
how
number.
many,
Just,
the exact number of how many students
no,
voted for the people who were removed?
no, it was looking to clarify whether or not it is true that hundreds of students' votes were nullified. I yield.
Generalization, how many votes are nullified?
Not hundreds. Nope.
Is there any further discussion on the resolution? Our president.
I have a question regarding this resolution in terms of like, you mentioned how a bunch of students' votes were nullified. If they're a bunch of students will be graduating and a bunch of students will be transferring. So if we were to have this re-election in fall, a lot of those people will not be included. I don't know.
Is there any further discussion? Yes, our audience member.
Just to respond to our president, it's a very good point, right? And it's sort of the sticky thing about our spring elections. Our spring elections are held and elect candidates who serve in their positions in the coming year, and we allow people who are graduating to vote in those elections, right? I don't know if that's something that policy committee would want to look at a later date. It's sort of sticky because you don't always know who's coming back in the fall, right? The following academic year. I think the most important thing is that the student government is accountable to the students, right? We want it to be serving the students, and we want it. Apologies, I'm getting strange on our chair today.
No,
No,
continue.
I was really looking at you.
Okay. I just, you know, provided the student government is accountable to the students, right, and it's representing the students. I think that's really what we're looking for and what the petition is for. I yield.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion. Sorry, my advisors.
I'm so sorry. It's, I don't know what I look like on your screen. I don't know if I'm like a little one. You're a little for me.
There is a button to raise hand on this feature.
I know, but I think it worked. Thank you. A couple things. This petition can't supersede your policy, and the policy is when a resolution is passed, it goes to whoever has the ability to make that decision. So as it was previously mentioned by our audience member, we can't just skip that step. The Senate doesn't have the authority to open an election. It would have to go to the election committee. So I just wanted to make that clear, if in case anyone was unsure if that was the case, it does have to go to election committee to make a decision. That is what your policy says. So that's really important to remember, and I just want to make sure that that wasn't confusing to anyone. It doesn't, if this passes, it does not immediately open an election again. It doesn't force the issue to reopen the election. And in reality, like outside of student government and in the real world with 501c3s or any elected positions, this doesn't happen. When there's a reason to remove candidates, there's never a re-election that's posted. If you think about like your local governments or not-for-profit agencies, that doesn't happen. If they're removed for a reason, you don't do a revote. That's not how Robert's rules works. That's not how any like real life situation happens. And I just want you to keep that in mind. I understand this is a student petition. And I think you absolutely should consider it and think about the ramifications. And I'm not trying to sway your vote, but I wanted to give you a little bit of perspective about like a normal situation in which this would happen. So I yield.
Point of personal privilege. Am I able to go to that without having quorum be dropped?
Yeah,
No,
you can go to the bathroom.
the quorum would be dropped though.
Oh, good job.
You're still going to come back to the meeting, right?
Yeah.
Then you can go to the bathroom. We will just wait on the vote. Our audience member.
Sort of to build off that, per our policies, resolutions have as their object a statement of the desire, intention, or opinion of student government, right? So although it's certainly not a done deal, the intention of student government to direct a committee made up of student government members, I would certainly hope is a powerful thing. It would be a shame if this resolution were to pass and an election committee decided to wash their hands of it. With regards to how 501c3 corporations operate, I believe our advisor is certainly correct in that regard. Robert's rules doesn't really outline removing candidates from an election. It's more so that it's just not really covered. It's not that it's not doable, it's just not really covered. And with regards to our status as a 501c3 organization, student government exists as a committee of the student association, which is the actual 501c3 organization. We are, of course, expected to uphold federal law and everything else and all those conventions, but we aren't exactly the corporation itself. The corporation is expected to have a board of directors. Currently, we don't have a board of directors. If anything, that is a far larger problem than election of non-voting members who may or may not serve ultimately on that board. I yield to our chair.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Point of personal brokers, what happened?
We had our audience member spoke. Would you like to
Point of
just
personal
very
privilege, can you please repeat? Yeah, please repeat what happened?
Very briefly, I just stated, I clarified to the horseshoe focus of resolutions, which are the statement of the desired intention or opinion of student government, and that ideally speaking, election committee made up of the offices of student government would absolutely respect the Senate's wishes in that regard. And I also clarified that student government at Utica exists as a committee underneath the 501c3 corporation. We are not the 501c3 corporation itself. I yield.
Is there any further discussion? Can't see far enough away. Our advisor.
You absolutely are the only committee and the standing unit of the 501c3. So I am sorry if there's confusion about that, but the student government at Utica is the sole committee, which is the sole 501c3. You are the reason the 501c3 exists, and you are the 501c3. There's no confusion there.
Senator
Point of
Fisher.
order, you never yielded and
I yield.
You yielded by the union mic. Senator Fisher.
Call the question.
We have a called question. Seconded by, we have a second. Is there any discussion on the call to question?
No.
Okay, moving to voting on the call to question. All the second. I'm so sorry. Okay. Moving into voting on the call to question. All those in favor of the call to question, please raise your hand. All those opposed, all those who abstain, that passes 4-0-0. Going into voting
Secret
on
ballot.
going to voting on the main resolution on hand. Our secretary will pass out the secret ballot as the Chief Justice did yield to the secretary.
I'm going to, point of personal privilege, for you, please go to the white when I sign.
Go ahead.
Grayson, face the wall. Face the wall, Grayson.
No.
I feel bad for that. I feel bad.
So I have two pens, the same type of.
No,
Alright, so that one. You take this pen. I'll get your. It's a brush pencil.
Point of clarification, what are we voting on? The entire resolution.
It's all one.
Oh, sorry. After the vote, I will get to you.
Again, as noted, please write clear of what your vote is. And make sure you fold it a few times.
I would like to ask all those of the horseshoe to, if you are currently on your phone and actively texting, to please put the phone down. Otherwise, you can't have anything that is being texted be brought forth to the public. Oh, so if you do continue this, that will be made clear. Thank you.
If you want to count the votes.
You.
Good.
You guys could step
Can they
out.
call them?
We'll
go into the conference room. It's more
Yeah.
private.
This is the other conference room.
There's another one.
Do you have access to
And then like going. Card access.
You guys went there.
No, you're just going into the building area.
Okay.
The conference.
The
That's
lounge, in fact.
That's fine. I was just thinking.
So guys, are we feeling
Hey, now.
finals?
Out of order, you don't have.
Are we counting?
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry to say. Raise your hand if you want.
Point of order, you did say that the next person was over there.
Correct, that's after the vote.
What did you say the next person?
I said after the vote, I will call on the honorable member.
Oh,
I'm so.
Okay, personal privilege, is there a towel or napkin behind you?
Yeah, I know exactly where a towel is.
why?
What the?
Hello, those are mine. Those are mine.
All right. We're in our conference.
I gotta clean my glasses.
We need some.
You just said what is that?
So, do you want the vote counts too, or just the end?
I think it's just the end you usually do.
Right.
Because the secret ballot, you don't say the numbers, right?
I'll say, I'm sorry.
It's just,
Sorry.
Wait.
Can I ask our advisors, do we say the numbers for the secret? No, okay, so does it pass or does it fail?
Oh, am I the one saying that? So the conclusion of the vote, the resolution does not pass.
So, moving on to resolution, 2425-48, Senator Velez.
47 is me.
I said 48, I do believe. Did you change up the order?
I don't even see a 48.
48 was your resolution that.
Oh,
on
down.
the
Point of information, 47 came before that.
How bad?
I would do that.
Put at the end.
Like right next.
Oh, apologies.
Let me get to it.
Resolution number 2425 dash.
Motion to accept said resolution number 2425-47.
Do we have a?
This is going to be submitted by a committee.
Okay.
The purpose of this resolution is to have public access to stop the bleed kits on campus. We, the Senate of SUNY Public Student Government, at you to hereby resolve whereas the Safety and Facilities Committee has met with the University Police Facilities and Health and Safety, and whereas public access to stop the bleed kits will assist in getting adequate medical care in the event of emergency, therefore be enacted stop the bleed kits will be placed around campus in strategic areas, and enacted the content of the stop the bleed kits will vary depending on the location to be cost effective, therefore be it resolved, individual on campus will have access to proper medical supplies in the event of an emergency, and be it finally resolved, stop the bleed kits will be located in publicly accessible locations on campus, and be it finally resolved, the campus will be better prepared in the event of an emergency.
Is there any discussion on this resolution? I was going to call on our audience member. My question is on the end. Senator Fisher.
Can I ask the previous chair of Safety and Facilities a question? Okay, I will continue. Have you figured out the location of these specific stop the bleed kits? Like, do you have a map planned out yet, or I yield to the previous Safety and Facilities chair?
So, these are largely up to the Health and Safety Department and University Police or what they want to put on. Typically with the current AEDs are, as is already put there too, and kind of point side by side, that's typically where we pump. Around campus, mainly around Donovan and workshop area, as areas of those are more prone to a more traumatic incident. So those areas are more prioritized. Mostly it comes down to how many decide to buy or where to put them, but mainly in the workshop area where the accidents are about to happen.
Senator Fisher.
So will they be behind like a glass case you have to break in the need of emergency just to prevent people from going in them and stealing crap? I go. Secretary of Safety.
So typically, these are rather accessible to, it's usually a case that you have to just open, fairly easily. You don't have to break anything typically. Sometimes there's just a bag that's just out, so you just grab the bag and just open up that way. It really comes down to how University Police wants to handle it, because the AEDs and Narcan are around campus, those are alarmed. So it might be something like that. It might be something a little different where you just open it up and that's it.
Senator, nope, sorry, hold on.
What, I need to know, what link says 404 can't be opened? It's the first link, and I'm just trying to look at it.
Yes.
Implementation of Stop the Bleed on campuses. It's,
probably not.
yeah, it's on the Collegiate Emergency Medical Services.
Or secretary. So I'm looking at the link right now. If we're to take a quick guess, it's probably at PDF. Right before it, there's 2 dots. You just remove one of those dots and see if that'll make the link work.
Your secretary, you have
There's no PDF. in this one.
I remove one dot for this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I don't have
There is no
the
PDF
link
that I
that's
have.
there, so.
there is .pdf.
You links on.
our audience member.
Just a point of information for the horseshoe. I see that the link is working. It's supposed to have both dots in the PDF. I'm gonna go open it. That's just fine on my end.
When you send it to me, it's so hard.
Senator Fisher.
So
Copy
I
the
would
link
just like to
and-
recommend that these do alarms to prevent like necessary equipment to stop this not being, not there when we get, I know.
Point of information, can you repeat that?
I recommend that I would recommend that these stop the bleed kits would be alarmed just like the AEDs to prevent them from missing essential equipment that would be needed in case of emergency of like a necessity void. I know.
Is there any further discussion on the resolution? Our audience member.
Just sort of 2 questions for our state facilities. I have an idea of how frequently incidents such as this occur, specifically on the Sweet Holly's campus. And second, do the plan for paying for these. We do have a campus donations line. I believe it's set at $1,800 for the 25-26 school year, but I don't. This would go directly to our secretary.
All right, so on the first part of incidents around campus, at least one incident happened recently of an individual needing bandages. Wasn't traumatic, but they were bleeding and did require some form of first aid. However, it's also more preventive too, because again, we also have AEDs and Narcan. From what I've seen, you do get rarely used. However, in the event of emergency, you want to have it because it is between life and death, and traumatic injuries related to open bleeds are a top cause of death too in these chapters too. Be correct to go through and read them too. If you provide statistics of fatality rates related to injuries, and as a EMT, if you do start bleeding out too, you could bleed out and pass within a minute. So having access to appropriate bleeding control is critical in a emergency that is life and death. And to what's the second part of the question again?
Just funding, who do you see paying for these kids on campus? They do it back in a second.
So funding wise too, we kind of priced that roughly with university police facilities and how the CMC got in the room too. They agreed that they'll be able to kind of front the cost of it. Most of the cost is initial. The initial cost is depending on how they want to implement it, generally under $1,000. Again, depends on how far they want to implement it. It's a bit more. If you want to have more of the higher end stuff and have more kits around, a bit more than 1,000. But generally under 1,000, and they'll be able to kind of cover the costs. And then long-term wise, it's very minimal as these kits only have to be restocked when you use as bandages and tourniquets don't provide idle.
Senator Fisher.
Would there be instructions on how to use the kits so that people, in case we be able to properly use them, the young secretary?
So in the links too, I have a link to some sample photography kits that are available to purchase. in those do include an instruction card of how to use like tourniquet, for those who don't know. I
Just real quick, your chief justice have their hand up. I don't know if it like took it down or something, but I know Summer did.
with teams, yeah.
Yeah. I believe Summer did want to speak though.
She's still in the call.
No, she's like, this, she might be on the second page. No, she's like, oh, come on.
Oh,
Got it. Okay. Wow. Is there any further discussion relating to the resolution? Seeing none, we will move into voting. All those in favor of passing resolution 2425-47, please raise your hand. All those against, and all those who abstain, that passes 4-0-0. Moving on to resolution number 2425-48, Senator Velez.
Motion to accept resolution number 2425-48.
We have a second by Senator Cortez.
We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government at Utica, do hereby resolve SUNY Poly serves a diverse and multilingual student population, including international students, immigrant families, and first-generation college students. And key campus documents are often provided in English, limiting access for non-English speakers, and language barriers lead to miscommunication, missed deadlines, and disengagement, affecting student retention and success. Collaboration among campus departments is essential to effectively implement language access initiatives, therefore be it enacted beginning with the student handbook. All essential student-facing documents shall be translated into the most commonly spoken non-English languages among the student population, or as identified by institutional data, and enacted the documents that should be prioritized included are not limited to the following: admissions materials, applications forms, eligibility guidelines, brochures, registrar forms, and course catalogs, university policies, student conduct, academic procedures, financial aid documents, information about scholarships, grants and loans, orientation materials, campus services, student life and institutional expectations, legal and consent forms, waivers, contracts, and policy agreements. Enacted additional student resources and forms will be translated when doable, especially those directed towards academics, finances, campus life, and legal responsibilities. And enacted, SUNY Poly can also expand its language access infrastructure by utilizing technology tools such as website translation plugins, document translation software, and even real-time captioning services. Establishing a language buddy program that connects students with peers seeking help navigating campus systems, implementations up to the university, offering interpretation services for major events, orientation, and advising sessions where appropriate, and enacted the following offices and faculty shall collaborate to push this agenda forward: academic success and advising, student accessibility services, diversity, equity, and inclusion, international student services, educational opportunity program, office of the provost and academic affairs, therefore be it. Resolved. SUNY Poly students with limited English proficiency will have better access to essential information and services, reducing barriers to academic and personal success. And be it further resolved, these efforts support SUNY Poly's commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion by making critical resources available to all students regardless of language background. And be it finally resolved, the student government at Utica urges continuous collaboration across departments, student leaders, and campus partners to make language accessibility an enduring and evolving part of SUNY Poly's commitment to student success, therefore be it.
Is there any discussion around this resolution? Well,
I have a quick question. Who exactly will be translating all of these? Like, is it like a program you put it through or something specifically? Like, I saw the buddy thing too, but who's gonna be translating? I yield.
Senator Velez.
Most likely the departments I listed, and it would most likely just include Google Translate. Duolingo, a little bit. You.
Senator Fisher.
All I'm gonna say is, Google Translate does not do a good job translating to other languages because it doesn't match the dialect usually. Certain places in different countries have different dialects, which in fact have certain language that appears in that certain part of that region. So I would not see, I'd see maybe having to hire like a translator to do it. I yield.
CFP.
Not to be like that guy, but is there really truly a need for it? Because don't all students that usually come in internationally, which I feel would apply to this, have to take an English proficiency test before they come anyway? If I'm not mistaken.
That's a little,
I'm not-
it's please die down within the horseshoe.
Point
Senator
of order, God. Please.
Senator Lance.
I am aware that all students do have to be English proficient, but this would expand our student population. And as you can see, we are about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So why not include those foreigners into our institution? IU.
CFP.
So does this mean that you're trying to remove the English proficiency test, or do you leave that in place on top of this?
It would be up to the departments listed. IU.
Okay.
Our audience member.
With regards to our Senator Fisher's comment on our translate, I don't think it's necessarily the job of people on this group to decide how those things are translated. There are many translation services available. Find firms that will translate documents, paid firms, but they will translate documents much more natural way, right? I don't think the intention behind this resolution was to simply paste the student handbook into Google Translate and have it spit out some awful, rendition of whatever that looks like. I did want to direct to Senator Velez, the question in regards to, I see it has additional student resources and forms will be translated by Google, especially those directed towards academics, finances, campus life. Were you looking to have syllabi translated as a part of this resolution? This would deal directly to Senator Velez.
Yeah, that would directly go with academics. So yeah.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none,
Actually, to add on to my answer, if we're expanding to where we're translating whole documents for foreigners that aren't English proficient, I think that would actually lead to a whole expansion of just foreign classes as well. So classes taught in Mandarin, possibly Mandarin student, or even other languages.
our audience member.
In regards to trying to translate syllabi, what would the process look like of getting every professor to send you every syllabus they have for each one of the classes?
So I'm going to answer this real quick. I want to remind everyone in this room that a resolution is simply a formal request. It gets sent forward to the parties that are listed within the resolution. We cannot have all these answers, as a lot of it does have to do with how faculty takes this, and if they even decide to go forward with it, because they may not. Having said that, our other audience member.
I also wanted to ask Senator Velez to speak a little bit on language buddy program that I see listed in there. I understand broadly what the program's about, but I just was wondering if you could speak a bit towards why you think this would be an improvement to campus life, and obviously, again, deals directly with Senator Velez.
Oh, yeah, I think personally a familiar face is honestly the best way to introduce someone to a new environment. And as the attachment show different ways of implementing it, whether it be someone from the States familiar with English, getting someone more familiar with the English language and the social status and such. But there's also another way of implementing it where you could have two different foreigners tag along, and that's yeah.
So, an international student myself, I don't think this is very necessary. because like, CFP mentioned, when you get admitted here, you have to know how to speak Spanish. But what I believe is like the approach can be changed in terms of maybe have an available resource that students can go to. Like, for example, my parents, they don't speak perfect English, but have a resource available that can translate for them. That's available, but not forced. Like, for example, you did mention here how all the admission materials, all of this has to be translated in the most commonly spoken non-English language. I feel like it should be an option, not necessity.
Senator Fisher.
All I'm gonna say is, this is just a formal request again, and the faculty or whoever it goes to can literally just sweep it under the rug. It does not need to be looked at all. Because this goes from our senate to the faculty senate, and the faculty senate can just choose not to look at it. All I yield.
Qualitative sports.
I'd like to say that if we are passing a resolution, I think the whole point is to make it so that they're more likely to accept our resolution. Otherwise, there's no point in accepting a resolution in the first place. And to add on to what our president said earlier, I do think that maybe making it absolutely required might deter facilities and all the professors to agree with it. But if it was instead, oh, you can request it, and then if it is requested, then it is required, that might make them more inclined to accept it. And about the language buddy system, I kind of also agree that it feels kind of unnecessary, but making things available, and also I'm not entirely sure what the multicultural club does, but if I were to refer them to somewhere or like think to promote something, I would promote the multicultural club and see if that helps at all. I yield.
Our audience member.
I did want to ask Senator Velez and Senator Fisher if they've spoken at all to the offices listed under that final quote on inactive, the academic test and accessibility, DEI, international student services, EOP, and especially the office of provost and the academic affairs. Right, a lot of this is targeting towards those offices, and this can be effective. Share.
I will let Fisher answer that one first.
I helped write it. I haven't spoken to the officers personally because that week I wrote it. It kind of was thrown on us by the previous president an hour or two before that last meeting. So I haven't spoken to the officers. I helped write it. And I'm going to yield to Senator Velez.
I did personally speak with international student services briefly, who did say they would look over this and reach back to me, and did inform me about the fact that you have to be English proficient to enter the college. So this would be more of an expansion, and the programs are just additional recommendations also that are completely optional. At you.
Could I ask a senator to make a motion to change the wording of this to be optional?
Motion to go back to the office. So we're back to the office.
We have a motion to go back to the office. Do we have a second? Second by Velez. With that, there is no more new business.
Wait, no, we
Yeah,
haven't voted on it.
We have to, oh, right. Oh my God, so sorry. Voting on tabling back to the office, all
Discussion.
those in favor?
Discussion. Just discussion on that.
Correct. Moving into discussion on tabling back to the office. Is there any discussion? Audience member.
Excuse me. I just wanted to ask, Senator Fisher, you mentioned that this was sort of pushed onwardly by our outgoing president. I was wondering if you could clarify that a little. Was this resolution primarily the project of someone else? I guess
It was a-
Senator Fisher.
It was a recommend, I don't know how to describe it. Were you there for it? Oh, yeah, of course. So how I'm gonna describe it is we were asked if we could get it to go on the table. It was literally a one-day project. I yield to our chair.
Is there any further discussion?
I yield to our chair to answer your question.
Yes, it was asked upon them if they could do this or not. I'll be back at the table. Senator Velez.
Wasn't the audience member the one that recommended the idea of this IU?
Our secretary.
So, right now, you guys discussing to table to the law, alright? Have you considered probably just taking this back to one of the committees?
No, the problem is,
Senator Fisher.
problem is, that this never technically went through the committee, so that's why it doesn't say, that Student Success and Technology submitted the bill, that's why it says Senator Fisher and Senator Velez submitted the bill, because we personally submitted it because it hadn't gone through the committee yet. I yield. So
I
our
will-
secretary,
Not honor that yield, I'll have it yield back to the floor and inform you that you can't just directly yield to a committee. To table it back to a committee, you do not have to only table it back to the author, you can.
information, I was the one who, made the motion.
I understand. Is there any further discussion on tabling back to the author? Or president?
Just a quick recommendation to the author. I would recommend you talk to this person. Had very good ideas regarding this. I've had a brief discussion about this, and just recommend.
Just one more point too, say if we were to go on the site and say pass it, would, out to your staff, get a chance to look at this over the summer? Or do we also talk to anyone?
Senator Velez.
I know whether if this gets passed or not, I will definitely be further reaching out to these departments, listed to see how we can actually collaborate without it feeling like we're forcing it on them. Just to have that optional, another word, just that option open, so, yeah. You,
Senator Fisher.
Motion to amend the motion to, table it to, Student Success and Technology Committee.
We have a motion to amend the motion. Do we have a second? Second by Senator Cortez. We have any discussion on the amendment? Seeing no discussion, we'll be moving on to amending it to be tabled back. We have a discussion.
I just want to point out that Student Success Committee doesn't even have, members, I believe. I think it's only the chair, no co-chair, and
Well, so I would just give you information that this would be going once the committee is formed again in the fall.
Your point of information, there's two members.
Anyways, on to discussion for the vote. Is there any further discussion on voting to amend to tabling this back to Student Success and Technology Committee? Seeing no further discussion, we'll move into voting. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. All those opposed? All those who abstain, that passes 3-1-0. Back into discussion on the motion to table. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, we'll vote on the motion to table this back to Student Success and Technology. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And all those who abstain, that passes 4-0-0. Moving on, there is no further business within new business, so we're moving into open forum. Very good question for open forum.
What different information was there? No good. Open. When do we ever do that?
Old business, there is no business. So we're in open forum. Our audience member.
I just wanted to ask, esports, if they had an update with regards to this conference room at all, or anyone who might be aware of the horseshoe. Sports representative.
Well, currently the plan is, over the summer, we'll be swapping over to this room as we have discussed. The current floor plan is still being, arranged, where I will be talking with the previous president and making up possible floor plans, bringing that to the chief of facilities, head of facilities. And we'll be arranging the room as we see fit. Yeah, should be done within the summer and before fall semester, but it's still just. Any further discussion? Senator Lewis?
Can I heavily recommend the Senate meeting training to the exec board, moving forward? You know, it was a very loose meeting.
They did their best, they did their best.
Our audience member.
He didn't yield.
I swear to God.
All right. I did want to just ask our executive board what notice or notification was given of this emergency meeting to those outside of. I feel to our share.
So this meeting was put on Engage, so it was sent out publicly. That was done today. That was done today. That would have been notification given to the public. The door is also freely open for anyone to walk in. Is there any further discussion? Our secretary.
I was like kind of referred to, there was word of mouth spread to, I did not part to, I spoke to several individuals who I figured will have some interest in this too, try to kind of advocate a bit more as well. Additionally, for those in the horseshoe, who were notified of this like yesterday as well.
Well,
Just want to say congratulations, new e-board. You did great for your first meeting, especially considering it's an emergency meeting. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I make a motion to adjourn, please?
can do we have a second? Anybody say anything? This meeting is adjourned. Oh, yeah, my bad. Jeez. We have a vote. Everyone in favor of adjourning, please raise your hand. Everyone opposed? Everyone abstained?
Put your hand out.
That passes 3-1-0. Meeting's now adjourned. Jesus.
I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Can we go back? Can we go back and watch the recording? No, please go back and watch the entire recording. How many times you